Stay frosty and head over to ezmutt.com for the cheapest mutt coins on the market. When I say cheapest, I mean it. We're talking 1 million coins for around $45. Use code DIRECTOR for 8% off. Kia ora, brothers. What's up? It's the Director. Chargers fans, as we begin to wind down in the 2020 season, it's time to take a look back. It's time to evaluate what this team can do in 2021 to improve. Now, I think this is a very healthy conversation because if you guys remember coming into this season, we had a lot of different expectations. A lot of us expected Tyrod Taylor to come on this team and lead the squad while Justin Herbert sat, learned, and acclimated to the NFL. And although ultimately this season really didn't pan out the way we were hoping, we did receive a beacon of hope in Justin Herbert. I don't think any of us expected Justin Herbert to come onto the scene as hot as he did and put up record-breaking numbers, ultimately planting his flag as the best NFL rookie quarterback of all time. And after ending the season potentially 7-9 or 6-10, we need to take a step back and ask ourselves, how do we win in 2021? What are the steps that we need to take in order to improve? And again, like I said, I think that answer does lie in Justin Herbert. I don't think it's rocket science when I say that building around your franchise quarterback 99% of the time is going to give you the best chance to win. And we've got that in Justin Herbert. So in this video today, we're going to be talking about how the Chargers should be building around Justin Herbert in 2021 and the steps that they need to take in order to make that happen. Because there is a lot of work to do, but this window of opportunity that's been presented through Justin Herbert cannot be squandered. And yes, we're going to have Justin Herbert on this team for a long time. And honestly, we're one of those lucky guys that got lucky in the draft. We picked up Justin Herbert. We don't have to worry about a franchise quarterback. But the reason that we have such a small window of opportunity is because of the cap space situation. The cap space advantage that Justin Herbert brings with him with a rookie quarterback contract is something that we need to take advantage of in this short 4 to 5 year window. And we've seen other teams capitalize on this opportunity in the past, like the Los Angeles Rams with Jared Goff. They pretty much loaded up on talent and made a Super Bowl run. They lost, but I think we can all agree that they were one of the hottest teams the year that they went to the big game. Time for the Chargers to do the same. This offseason might be unlike any offseason we've ever seen in terms of loading up on talent and really committing to building around Justin Herbert. So that's going to be the topic of conversation today. It should be a good one. Now, before we do get started, as a reminder, I'm going to be announcing a brand new giveaway here in the next couple of days. It's an awesome item. I cannot wait to show it to you guys. This one, of course, is going to be for my crew as a gesture of appreciation. Guys, thank you for sticking in there with me, man. It's going to be an awesome year in 2021, and I think you guys will like what I have in store. Now, of course, if you guys aren't a member of my crew, don't worry. I'm going to be doing another giveaway here in the next few weeks to take care of you guys as well. But if you would like to join my crew, definitely give it some thought. You guys get perks like custom emojis, members-only chat, and getting your names in the end credits of my videos. It's a great way to support me, support the channel, and keep the Chargers content rolling. With all that being said, guys, let's get into this video. Guys, before we do get started, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. And guys, wow, I'm pretty sure by the time you guys see this video, we will have crossed 25,000 subscribers. I cannot tell you guys how much this means to me. I've been saving a bottle of wine forever to pop for this occasion, and I can't believe it's happening. So guys, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I'm so blessed that I'm able to do this every single day, going from the uncertainty of being laid off back in March to building a future for myself here on YouTube, and it's really because of you guys. So cheers to you, my loyal family here on YouTube. I'm looking forward to a spectacular 2021 year. With that, let's get into this video. Lights, camera, action. How the Chargers should build around Justin Herbert in the 2021 season. This is going to be crucial. Now, I've kind of mapped this out in steps for myself to talk to you guys via these topics, and they really are in chronological order of priority for me. And without wasting any time, I think you guys know the number one priority for me going into this offseason is going to be parting ways with Anthony Lynn. And I know as a Chargers YouTuber, it's kind of my responsibility to bring this up all the time. I hate bagging on this this guy. I really do. I think he's like a genuine human being, someone I would definitely look up to and have a beer with. But when it comes to leading this football team, this is just not the right guy right now, man. The Chargers culture is changing. Justin Herbert has changed so much about how this team should be operated. I just don't think Anthony Lynn is the right fit anymore. Now, keeping in mind, I don't want this video to be spectacularly long. Just make sure you guys go watch my potential candidates for Chargers head coach in 2021 video, because we've talked about this a lot, and I do intend on updating that list here in the next couple of weeks as we wind down the 2020 season. So just know the first #1 priority for me this offseason is to get a change at the head coaching position. I think it's absolutely necessary at this point of Justin Herbert's career. Now let's get into the detail-oriented steps. Step number 2 for me is fixing this offensive line. You must protect your franchise quarterback going into his second season. The first bullet point I do have written down here is to trim the fat. Honestly, and I can't believe I'm saying this after all the hype I had in this offseason, we need to consider cutting Trey Turner. Let me show you guys why. Now, Trey Turner was acquired, via trade this offseason. I think a lot of Chargers fans thought we did win that trade, and honestly, it could still pan out. There's a great chance that he stays on this team. However, if you take a look at, what would happen if we decided to cut him. As a matter of fact, let me make this a little bit bigger. If we decide to cut Trey Turner, who has been having a bit of a struggle this season, staying healthy being the biggest one, but even his production on the field has been okay. Nothing spectacular, especially not for what we're paying him. The Chargers really could save $11.5 million this offseason with no dead cap going into this season or next season. So when you're talking about a potential out, this is kind of it. The Chargers have two options. We either keep Trey Turner and hope he bounces back from an injury-riddled year that was a little bit subpar when he was actually on the field, or we cut him and look for a new answer while saving $11.5 million. It's really kind of strange and unfortunate. I love Trey Turner, the player. I was very excited for him to come on this team, but honestly, when you're looking at a team like the Chargers where we already have a huge problem with injuries, you have to consider trimming the fat when it comes to players that are consistently injured. So that's the first consideration I would make this offseason after getting a new head coach. Other Chargers fans would also ask, is it a good idea to make, if we're going to be cutting, Trey Turner, is it a good idea to be cutting Brian Bulaga as well? Now, I will say this one would make less sense for the Chargers. Yes, Brian Bulaga also struggled with injury all season long, and honestly, most fans' first instinct would be, let's go ahead and cut him and get a new guy in here. But financially, in the 2021 season, it just doesn't make as much sense as cutting Trey Turner. If we cut him before June, $14 million in dead cap. If we cut him after June, $11 million in dead cap. And honestly, the only way we make any sort of savings towards the cap space is by trading him after June. So honestly, that's why it says potential out right here, 2022. We can get away with only $3 million in dead cap. So really, it makes more sense for the Chargers to keep him in the 2021 season than to cut him or trade him. And I think I'm okay with giving Brian Bulaga a second shot here because, again, coming into the season, I knew he had injury problems, and we've seen this trend with him in Green Bay for a couple of years. There's a really good shot that he bounces back from injury next year, and honestly, we might have a temporary answer at right tackle for a few seasons. But still, keep that all in mind. What about the Chargers free agents as far as offensive linemen? Because fixing this whole line, definitely #1 priority when it comes to free agent signings and all that kind of stuff. Well, taking a look at the Chargers free agents in 2021 concerning our offensive line, I do think that we part ways with Mike Pouncey, a season-ending injury at age 32. I think the chances we re-sign him are a bit low, and we're going to have to look for a replacement elsewhere. Now, the guys I would consider keeping, Forrest Lamp kind of had, a bounce back season, but he's had a lot of injury problems in his past. And then Dan Feeney has been pretty good at guard, I think also playing center. Everybody else, you really have to consider just cutting them outright. I want to change the culture at offensive line. I don't want good enough. I want improvement going into 2021. It's a must. And guys like Sam Tevy, Trey Pipkins, they just can't be allowed to block Herbert's blind side anymore. Because if you're a Chargers fan, you watch this season, you know that he was under pressure 90% of the time he was out on the field. Maybe a little dramatic, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So there's really only a few guys that I would keep from this season, mainly even for depth, and really consider revamping the entire line. And that all does kind of start in free agency. Now, this is where I think if I was in charge of the Chargers, I was a GM, whatever, this is probably the position I would put most of my off-season resources towards, is an offensive line veteran signing. And yeah, I'm a little bit worried because what happened with Brian Bulaga, that's a lot of cap space that kind of went down the drain this year. But really, my targets like Trent Williams, he is 33, temporary solution, but he would definitely be a plug-and-play guy in there that we can be confident in protecting Justin Herbert. You can consider Joe Tooney as well, only 28. He'd be an excellent signing. I think left guard for the Chargers, definitely a need if we're not going to be re-signing Forrest Lamp or even a Brandon Sheriff. But for me, I would say my top priorities, if we were going to get any free agent offensive lineman in 21, is Trent Williams and maybe Alex Mack. And again, both of these guys are on the wrong side of 30, but they do bring veteran leadership. They're still playing at a very high level. And honestly, I don't want next season to be as stressful on Justin Herbert as it was this year. And these guys bring an immediate solution. And I think this year especially, having that kind of veteran presence and leadership is going to be very important in creating a new culture on that offensive line. Because the next step for me, honestly, is just throwing a bunch of draft capital at the offensive line. So you're going to have a lot of young guys in there that are going to need to be shown the way. Now, I have created kind of a little list here of offensive lineman prospects that the Chargers can go after. And honestly, if I'm being completely honest about how much of the draft I want to throw at the offensive line, I'm really thinking between 2 and 4 linemen must be drafted in 2021. Some people may think it's a little bit over excessive. I think it's absolutely necessary. And there's some great talent in here, man. Now, obviously, Penei Sewell's probably not going to happen, but you still have a shot at guys like Christian Darrisaw, at the 12 spot even. Rashawn Slater, if you decide to trade down. Samuel Cosme. I think Dylan Rundon's here, and then Jalen Mayfield there. Both great prospects. Alex Leatherwood in the second round. I think you absolutely must invest at least one pick in the top 3 rounds for the Chargers. You need to prove to me that you're serious about protecting your franchise quarterback, and that's the only way to do it. So once we start getting into a lot more mock drafts and stuff like that, you're definitely going to see me addressing the offensive line with multiple picks every single time. And again, just kind of going down this list here, there are a lot of options going into the 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds as well that I think the Chargers should take a chance on. Sure, not everybody's going to pan out, but we've seen a lot of good offensive linemen come through the middle rounds in past years. So please, Chargers, for the love of God, protect my quarterback, invest in a high pick, and maybe even a couple of mid and late round picks. Make sure that area is covered and give them some good competition as well. Throw a lot of resources at undrafted free agent signings as well. Make sure there's quality competition in training camp. I want the most attention to detail this offseason going towards fixing this offensive line. So that's how I would fix the O-line. My next thing here, which I'm not going to get into crazy detail on because I have another video planned out for this later, is to fix the defense. Now, again, I'll kind of run through a couple of the things that I would do, but we'll go into more detail later. A few things I have written down here. Fire Gus Bradley. He's definitely not the way anymore. Very uncreative, uninspired defense. We cannot let that continue on this team into next season. Get Joey Bosa some help. We've got the $100 million man there getting blocked by 2 or 3 linemen every single down. If we force their attention to the other side of the line as well, that's definitely going to free him up and make that investment worth it. Sign or draft young cornerbacks, maybe even cutting Casey Hayward. We need some youth and talented youth at the cornerback position desperately going into 2021. Throw some resources and attention to the interior of the defensive line as well, in my opinion. Our run defense sucks. Another way to really help that is to unleash Kenneth Murray. Stop running him like a coverage linebacker and let him hit those gaps and defend against the run. Make those secure tackles. That's kind of what he was drafted to do, in my opinion. Use him properly. Again, we'll do another video later going over the defense. I kind of wanted to focus more on the offense in this one. My next step here is to add weapons for Justin Herbert. Now, the Chargers wide receivers and tight end situation isn't the worst in the world. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, all these guys are fantastic receiving options. But I still think there's more work to do. As we saw in this season, we relied a lot on 4th, 5th, and 6th string guys like Jalen Guyton and Tyron Johnson. And although these guys are good, we have seen examples of why Justin Herbert needs more quality wide receivers at that position. Lots of drops by Jalen Guyton, even Tyron Johnson. Not the best ability at getting open with the route running. We need to bring some more quality to that position going into next season. And the first thing that I really hate to bring up, but I'm going to anyway because you guys are going to ask, is what do we do with Mike Williams? Now, Mike Williams, they have already exercised his 5th-year option. This is what we're looking at as far as keeping him or trading him. So $15 million. It's quite a lot of money to dedicate to a wide receiver that honestly doesn't put up a lot of production, at least this season. And we got a good sample size of how he looks with Justin Herbert. Now, if we decide to cut him, that's where things get interesting. Really, $15.5 million. There is the possibility of trading him. I wouldn't suspect more than like a 4th round pick in that scenario, just because he's only got 1 year in his contract. He does cost quite a bit of money. And again, it kind of hurts me to bring this up because I'm a huge fan of Mike Williams, but I know you guys are going to ask, and honestly, it's something that the Chargers should definitely evaluate. Bullet point number 2, consider signing a speedy wide receiver this offseason via free agency. Now, to me, I think Justin Herbert, when you take a look at his skill set, the kind of archetype of quarterback he is, he's got the big arm. You want to make sure he gets plenty of opportunities to toss it downfield. And honestly, there's a couple of pretty decent options at free agency this season. You just want to make sure it makes sense financially as well. So Allen Robinson, probably out of the question. T.Y. Hilton, probably a little bit too old. Sammy Watkins, a little bit too injury prone. But I'm looking at guys like Brashad Perriman. Very fast. He could stretch the field. Very much so complement Justin Herbert. My favorite of the bunch, John Ross, who's very friendly towards the cap, has run the fastest 40 time in combine history. He's definitely on the top of my list. Or I guess if you want to spend big, a guy like Will Fuller as well would make sense for the Chargers. So I just think adding more weapons that have a higher skill set when it comes to route running, when it comes to speed and getting open, I think that's definitely necessary when you're competing in the AFC West versus guys like Tyreek Hill, Henry Ruggs, and Jerry Jeudy. And then if we are going to consider cutting Mike Williams, which again, I hope we don't, we need to consider signing another outside receiver. And again, I like guys like Corey Davis. The likelihood of him hitting the free agency market is definitely interesting because they got A.J. Brown over there. There's definitely some options. But the other option that we must bring up is drafting a wide receiver. Now, this is where things kind of get interesting because of the balance of where you're putting your resources in 2021. Now, like I said, I want to spend, a top 3 pick on an offensive lineman. I think it's absolutely necessary. But I also want to make sure the Chargers are not afraid of drafting a wide receiver if the value is there at your pick. And again, this is just kind of where it comes down to wherever the chips may fall, because the Chargers have a lot of needs in the first 3 rounds. Let's say we need an edge defender, cornerbacks, offensive tackle, wide receivers a little bit down the pecking order for me. But still, if we're sitting there at the 12th pick and somehow Jalen Waddle is still there, Devonta Smith, I didn't put Chase in here because I'm pretty sure he's going to be gone, but if he's there, he's a no-brainer. Don't be afraid to take value at the wide receiver position if it presents itself at the 12th or even maybe later pick depending on our win or loss on Sunday. Now, we have thrown some resources at wide receiver this last year in this last draft, but those are pretty low-end picks, and honestly, they're going to take a long time to develop. I still have faith in KJ Hill and Joe Reed, but getting a guy like Jalen Waddle on this team with Justin Herbert, honestly looking almost like a Tyreek Hill clone, could really shift things, shift the power of the offense going to 2021 versus the Chiefs, Raiders, and Broncos. I just want you to imagine for a second the perspective of the fans of those teams. If you're a Broncos fan or you're a Raiders fan or Chiefs fan and you see the Chargers draft Jalen Waddle, you're going, uh-oh, this kid's gonna catch a lot of touchdowns from Justin Herbert. And then obviously if we get a wide receiver really high in the first round, I would 100% consider trading back in to get a guy like Rashawn Slater, Samuel Cosmi, or hope a guy like Alex Leatherwood or Jalen Mayfield or even Wyatt Davis fall to you in the second round. Again, we have a lot of needs, but don't be afraid to take a wide receiver if the value presents itself. 100% take a guy like Christian Darrisaw or Rashawn Slater in the first round, but if a guy like Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith is sitting there at number 12, you don't even think about it. That's a great value. So adding weapons for Justin Herbert is a huge priority for me, especially a wide receiver. Also wanted to mention what's going on with Hunter Henry. There's been some rumors that he's going to be re-signed. I don't think I've seen any confirmation of that. Let me know in the comment section if you guys have. That's a really good move to me. I feel like giving him consistency at the tight end position is definitely necessary for a rookie quarterback, and I like our depth at tight end otherwise. And the last thing I would actually consider for the Chargers as well is adding a power back via free agency if your faith in Joshua Kelly and Kellen Ballage is truly not there. And really, when you're looking at Leonard Fournette, first round pick, I don't think he's going to be costing a lot. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers got him on a bargain. He kind of fits what this team was trying to do this year, although I do think there could be a shift in mentality. Still, if you're looking for a 1-2 combo of Fournette and Eckler, that could be pretty lethal in the next season. So something to consider. Now, as we're winding down this video, guys, a couple more points I did want to make. You've added the weapons for Justin Herbert. You fixed the offensive line. You've hired a new head coach. What are the last couple of things that I would do to try and build around Justin Herbert? Well, the first thing is hiring a new offensive coordinator. Now, this one's a little bit sketchy to me because I don't know the potential of Shane Steichen outside Anthony Lynn's world. Perhaps a change at head coach would allow him to run the offense he wants, which means less run, pass, and more Justin Herbert. Something to consider there. And then lastly, probably one of the most important that I'm going to list on this video is introducing a new culture. Like I've said on several occasions, We are not a run-heavy offense anymore with a dominant defense that would allow us to play conservatively in the second half. That's just not us anymore. To me, a shift in culture is getting away from that. You know, introducing more of a balanced scheme. Go ahead and lean on your offense a little bit more. They've got the firepower with Justin Herbert. Maybe lean towards the passing attack a little bit more. That's where your strengths exist. Really study what the Chiefs are doing because you've got a very similar quarterback to Patrick Mahomes. And ultimately, the culture needs to shift to let Herbert cook. He's going to be the reason that we win football games in 2021. Take the leash off of Austin Eckler. Let him be a receiving back. Let Justin Herbert throw more RPOs, which we've seen works with him in this offense. Give him weapons to throw it downfield more, stretch the field to get guys like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams open. This is the way you move the chains with the Chargers going forward. No more run heavy, hoping that you pick up 4 or 5 chunk yards, giving him easier passing downs. He doesn't need that. He's not your typical rookie. He's the best rookie quarterback we've ever seen in the NFL. It's time we start treating him like that and giving him the freedom to unleash his potential. And with all this combined, guys, I don't think there's any reason to think that Justin Herbert couldn't be in contention for MVP in the 2021 season. This is how you build a playoff team. This is how you build a team that makes a run at the Super Bowl. You build around your franchise quarterback and give him the best possible statistical advantage at carrying you to victory. Well, guys, kind of a long one today, but I think this one's pretty important. I think Chargers fans, Chargers team, everybody needs to know next season is about building on what we know we have now in Justin Herbert. It's absolutely crucial that we give him the tools to do his thing. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you liked this content, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll be seeing you next time. As always, bros, bolt up and stay frosty.